And that goes back to why we value comfort over discomfort.
You know, you have been open a few times in songs and on the internet about your own sexuality. Is that something that you've kind of had to wrestle with throughout the years?
I think the Spider Gang will follow us until we die. He never was me, and he never will be me. He's something I've created, a vessel to speak, you know.
But the most important topic I wanted to talk to you about in this interview is why Super Mario Sunshine is the most underrated Mario game in the entire series. And I don't think it gets enough credit for being great. And I felt like you would agree.
Yeah. I think the only better Mario game for GameCube is Paper Mario.
Yeah, Paper Mario is better.
1,000 Year Door.
Yeah.
None of the other Paper Marios are as good as that one, except maybe the first one. It's pretty decent. But, yeah, no. Then it's that one because of the water.
Just because the water
The
like,
water
sets it
looks
over
so
the
beautiful.
edge.
Before my grandfather passed away, he told me that he was amazed at the water in that game. I was playing it one day, and I distinctly remember him walking into the room and looking at the CRT and being like, what the hell? It's like there's real water in there. So that's, if a game can do that, it must be pretty great.
Right. It's like a memory for you now at this point.
Yeah.
So you're more of like a 2D Mario guy or like a 3D Mario guy?
2D Mario is arcadey, you know?
Yeah.
It's fun.
Easy to pick up and play.
Yeah, it's always just like enjoyable, but I'd say I'm more of a 3D Mario. You know, I like Luigi's Mansion.
Luigi's Mansion is classic.
I like Luigi's Mansion.
I don't know how I felt about number 2 though, with like the Guigi
Number
guy.
2's ass.
Yeah, that's what I said.
No,
It
but
kind of
number
was corny.
3 is lit, and I think Guigi's in number 3.
Oh, okay, I got him.
That one's
fucked
lit.
up. Number 1 is like.
That's the best.
Oh yeah, number 2 was for the DS, right?
Number 2 is like
Yeah.
for the 3DS. I think that shit was kind of ass cheeks.
Nah, definitely.
But 3 is lit.
You were playing.
It tries to be like a combination of new Luigi's Mansion and the first one, which I like.
Yeah.
I haven't beaten it though, so I don't know if it compares like all the way through.
Do you play on your Switch? I think.
Yeah, I didn't play games for quite a while, and then I picked it back up when they released Tears of the Kingdom.
Bro, how many
'Cause I'm
hours you have
I'm a Breath
on
of the
that?
Wild person. I didn't put as much time into Tears as I did into Breath of the Wild because
Yeah.
I think like picking up a game that was the same formula but different didn't like trap me the same way that it
Yeah.
did when Breath of the Wild came out. But I'd say I put probably like I don't know, maybe like 72 hours into it, you know.
I get stuck on the fucking side quests every time I play Zelda, to the point of it's like I'm
That's
on the main story so late.
Side quests are more obvious in that game because they like get added to like a quest log and shit. Whereas in
Yeah.
other Zeldas, the side quests kind of like are left to actually be side quests. They're like more mysterious. You're not like being handheld through a lot of it.
Yeah.
It's kind of Skyrim-y that every time you run into someone and talk to them, it's like, oh, there's a quest. Instead of just like figuring that out, it just like tells you.
I heard like a rumor that like actually gonna switch up the formula for the next one though, because
Yeah.
like I feel like they can't do a third one in like the same style.
That would suck.
Because you look at the history of the series, like how many different styles there were.
Yeah, I hope that before they do another 3D one, they do like another top-down one because that's like the Zelda I originally fell in love with.
Like Minish Cap and like Link to the Past and shit like that.
Yeah, Link Between Worlds.
Okay.
You know,
I never played that one because I didn't get a 3DS.
The Link's Awakening remake is also good.
Yeah, not for the Switch. I love that shit. That art style
When
is so
I
crazy,
started
bro.
playing it, I was like, "What the fuck? Like this shit looks crazy."
Did you play the original one for the Game Boy?
Yeah, it's like almost impossible to play
Yeah,
for anyone with any modern
bro.
like
Yeah.
affectations or just like you just can't.
But it's so crazy how it's like the same game, like literally.
It
like,
is
They were
exactly the
able.
same
It's
game,
exactly the
yeah.
same, just like better.
Yeah,
Way
it's like-
easier to
It's
fucking
like
play.
playable.
I don't know. I fuck with the remakes, bro. I see a lot of people like dissing remakes, but it's like if you can take a classic game and like make it better and like more modern and easier to play, like why the fuck not? Especially with the art style like that.
Yeah, make it more accessible to a new generation of people that want something a little higher fidelity.
For sure. But shit. What day is this on tour so far? We started like last
Yeah, it's Halloween. Did we start
last Tuesday?
like a week ago?
Yeah.
Has it not even been a week?
I think it's been a week to the day. We know that 6 days. 6 days.
It's been 6 days. Crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
How many
I've been out here a little longer than a week.
Yeah,
'Cause I,
yeah.
went out to Florida a few days early to get ready, so it's been like a week and some change.
Were you just getting ready for the tour, or were you just like trying to chill out and decompress a little
Yeah,
bit too?
you got to get the merch ready. You got to get the production ready.
Yeah.
You got to put in some work on set list. There's just like things that require a couple extra days to do. We had a pre-production day on this tour, which is something that we haven't done on other tours, where we like got to go to the venue the day before.
Right.
And that really like smoked out a lot of problems that we would have had on the first day doing that. So just like trying to make sure that this one goes, as well as possible. It being the most modern one, really, in the way we're doing it. It's more comfortable. There's more rest. It's more like sustainable.
How has
albeit a little longer.
Yeah. How has preparing for this tour been different from the previous tours compared to like Spider Gang 1, like the first time you toured?
How has it been different? I mean, with Spider Gang 1, I wasn't like performing very long.
Right.
Because it was everybody had like their little chunk, and then like we do group stuff at the end. And then Spider Gang 2 was similar in that it was like little chunk, and then some stuff at the end, the group section. Going into this year, going to Australia, I think actually the year before that, Europe was my first solo tour.
Yeah.
Which is weird to think about.
Yeah. You went to Europe first.
Europe was my first solo tour. And like, performing for like over an hour and stuff like that. And that's the one that I did with John and Bad Lad.
How is that energy different? Performing for an hour versus like 30 minutes maybe? Like, do you pace yourself more?
Well, so Spider Gang, honestly, I'm blessed as a rapper to have had the ability to do like Spider Gang Tour 1 and 2, because it was kind of like training wheels. You don't just got to get thrust into like performing for that long every night and kind of like failing at it. I got to like come to expect what it would be like somewhat. And performing for a longer period it's very mentally taxing. It's very tiring. Anticipating it is stressful. And so it's a great practice in mental endurance and physical endurance. Like, you hit a flow. It's like runner's high. You start off and then you kind of hit a wall like 20 minutes in, and then like if you keep rapping, you can feel like when you start to catch up.
Yep.
When like it doesn't take as much to rap or sing. And it's a good feeling. It's kind of like a sport in a way. It's harder than a lot of the sports that I've played in my life.
It has been a lot of like, like you said, it's a sport, so it takes a lot of training, like a lot of breath control.
Yeah, it takes conditioning.
Yeah. I noticed you tried to get you said you tried to get healthier. You look like you lost a little bit of weight.
Yeah, and it's not even like lost weight. I've like kind of stayed at the same weight. I've just like gained muscle, whereas a lot of my muscle atrophied from years of sitting and doing drugs and being in an apartment and not going to the gym and working on music and animating and working on art. It just over the years kind of caught up to me. And that's why this year I kind of decided I wanted to move in a different direction now that I have gotten some of the success and reached a lot of the goals I set for myself. It's time to like do something for me, as a person, not just keep giving all of myself to the world forever. You have to have balance,
Yeah, that makes sense, especially when you've hit the level that you've hit. It's important to kind of learn to take care of yourself and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's important to not treat it like it's just like perpetual.
Yeah.
It's not good to treat like an art career as if it's just like this thing that you're gonna do until you die. Like, you need to have ebb and flow. That's why next year I'm not touring. Might do a few shows here and there, but it's that same ebb and flow. Like, I've given so much of myself this year to touring, more than any other year in my life, you know. Did Australia from, you know, in January, February, March, U.S. tour.
Yeah, you did
and
2
then,
U.S. tours in 1 year.
Yeah, and then Europe in, you know, the May area. Summer, June, July, did some, like, festivals and shows in, like, Buffalo, Alaska.
Yeah.
Did So What. And then here we are with this tour. That's like, I think I might have spent as much time touring. I think by the end of this tour, I might have spent more time touring than I have just like being,
like just being at home,
in stasis,
just
yeah,
relaxing,
like just chill, like not doing anything.
I feel like you've been on tour for almost like 2.5 years now, like consistently.
Yeah, like Spider Gang tour and stuff last year in Europe. That was like definitely, I think, the year where I spent the second most time on the road, but it was by no means like at all close. That was probably like a quarter of the year I was touring for last year, and then this year it's been like 2/3 maybe, I think, almost doing shit.
Yeah,
which is pretty crazy to think about.
Do you think that's
it's been super fun?
Yeah, no, the tours are definitely.
But
no, I 100% agree. Even just being on the side of the camera, like it's super fun to get to go to the shows every night, see the fans, and just knowing you from the beginning and seeing like less than 20 people in Charlotte, North Carolina in 2019 to 1,400 in Raleigh.
Yeah,
like that. I think that moment for me really like kind of put everything, like your career, into like perspective. Just knowing you from the beginning, like the same spot. You know what I mean? It's only like an hour and a half away, but it's the same state. It's kind of the same market. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that really kind of put perspective how big you've gotten. Is there like a particular show or a moment that kind of hit you and you realized that music was at another level for you?
I was like, oh.
Yeah.
You know, with Spider Gang Tour, I always knew that a lot of the people were there to see me and not so much the other guys. It was easy to tell.
Yeah, no.
You know? Because, you know, some people would honestly even be rude about it. You know?
Yeah, I mean, that's not even...
Like, people, my homies would be on the stage and some niggas would be chanting, like, Darkie, Darkie. And it's like, that fucked with my head. It was not cool. But it also, like, looking back, led me to realize, you know, at that time I couldn't tell how many people were there to see everyone, how many people were there to see me. Because I'd also get comments like people being like, "Oh, perform longer next time." Like I can tell like I wasn't giving them enough.
Right.
And so then when I went to Europe, I think was the first time that I was like, "Oh shit!" Like if I can go to Europe and then this many people can pull up to shows, what can I do in the States? So it was like I think it was like not just one moment; it was like a couple moments. My first moment was like, I think Rolling Loud. Really though. There's like a lot of little times where I was like, oh, but the fact that I could go to Rolling Loud and then get like a massive circle pit going, when I saw that circle pit going for rap music, and then I think there's a video of it on like my Instagram I posted on like my reels or whatever.
Yeah.
That was the real big one. You know, I went to Europe and I was like, oh, I can do this. And then before that, I think it was Spider Gang 2 that was Rolling Loud. That's like the first like real time because like I think during Spider Gang 2, can you fact check that? If it was Rolling Loud during Spider Gang 2, or was it what was that? I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure it was like.
What year was that one?
Chronologically,
2021.
I don't know. I forget.
The 2021 was Spider Gang 1.
When did I post that video?
That was 2022.
February 2022. They were posting on Reddit about you performing at Rolling Loud.
Okay, yeah, it might have been. Who knows? Yeah. I'm gonna check. Yeah, Rolling Loud 2022. This is the real moment right here.
The circle pit.
I'm pretty sure this was during Spider Gang 2. I remember because I think, you know, I see yeah, I remember Dillinger was on stage. MK's there. Yeah, it was during Spider Gang 2, but it was my set. That was like that's my real answer. That's like the real time where I was like, oh, like, where does it go from here? And then from there, it's like this linear kind of like
Yeah.
progressively getting more and more independent. And then Dark Army Tour at the beginning of this year was like, oh shit, this is my first like real U.S. tour going all over the country by myself. It's just my act. This is truly who's like coming to see me. I can finally see. And I was like blown away, you know, by the reception. And the fact that this tour we're outselling last tour is super crazy to me.
Right, you're almost at like 28,000 tickets now?
No. It's like the first tour sold 20,000 and a half, so like 20,500 approximately, around there. And then this one already is at like 23,800.
Okay. I mean, that's still an accomplishment. Like what
Yeah,
was that
and
stat?
23,800, and we're a week into a 2-month
Right.
tour, you know? Like by the end of it, we'll hit like 25, 30.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That
That's
is
like
crazy.
That's like a fuckload of people
What
to
was
pull
that
out to
stat?
shows, especially right now where like shows are not selling very well.
Right. Right.
You know, it's hard for some rappers to pull out like 50 people.
No, definitely.
The fact that I'm like about to be in Detroit and like the ticket sales right now are 1,600. Who knows, when I get there it might be like 1,800 people. That's like fucking crazy. Never did I like know that it was gonna get like that. You never know.
Right.
You know, it slaps you in the face. It's like a super crazy like whoa moment. Even from Spider Gang, I don't think like besides Denver, I don't think there was like any show on Spider Gang tour that ever got above like 1,000 people.
Wasn't Fort Lauderdale 1,200?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I think it was roughly around.
Yeah, I only
like
have
maybe 9.
and that's also something is like I only have the data for
Right.
all the tours up to Europe tour, my first Europe tour.
Mm-hmm. So you can't even see
I
those.
can't even go back.
I mean, we got the most important statistic is that of all people who make music of all time, you were in the 0.01%, the top.
Yep.
That is a stat. That's nothing based off of opinion. That's nothing based off of people's feelings. It's 100% based off solid facts.
Pretty cool. Definitely feels surreal. It feels not real sometimes, you know? Because, you know, when you're just chilling at the crib, like, none of that is real.
Right.
You really only see it when you tour. For real, you know? Because comments and internet shit and views, it's all just, like, net metrics, and it's like, yeah. But when you go on tour and you see and you walk out and you see those people yell so loud it, like, hurts your ears. It's like, oh, shit. This is just a few of the people that fuck with me, you know?
How did you get that Rolling Loud offer that led to that moment? Like, how did that come through?
I don't remember exactly. I just remember there being some kind of a connection established with some guy at Rolling Loud who, shout out you if you see this. Don't remember his name, but he was just showed interest and got me that set. It was lit. It was cool. Check that off the list, you know. Did Rolling Loud. That's tight.
And speaking of not having, you know, most of the info from those early tours, I've noticed being on this tour, a lot of your team is different. A lot of your management team.
Yeah.
A lot of the people working the tour.
Yeah.
How did that come about? When was the moment you're like, you need to switch everything, get more serious?
I think it's been a less flip of a switch than that question might imply, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Even from Australia, you know, from Australia to US to Europe to, you know, US shows and then this US tour, it's been like a gradient, you know. And some of it's circumstantial. Some people aren't on the tour because they're doing stuff. You know, some people are not on the tour because it's more convenient for somebody to be on it rather than someone else. The way that, you know, Kyle's on it now, helping with merch because we needed like another merch person because last tour we did merch and we found like the 2 people we had running merch was like wasn't sufficient to handle like the volume of shit. So we needed to add somebody. We needed to add Warren to drive because the truck is so fucking big. We don't even know anybody who could drive a truck that big and not like crash it. So we need somebody who's like spent their life driving trucks to drive it. So, I mean, it was just realizing as tour went on and tour went on and tour went on, and this mistake is made and this mistake is made, and these people butt heads, and the friction between these people, and like you learn to be able to like craft the perfect social dynamic, and it'll never be like perfect. There will always be problems, but you learn who works well together, who respects one another, who has a good work ethic, who respects each other's time and money and effort. That's important,
right,
when it comes to doing something this like of this big stake. This tour, I'd say in like pure like revenue is like the highest that I've ever done a tour. There's no possible way to not make this the most comfortable, smooth sailing thing possible, or at least do everything in our power to make it that way. It just like wouldn't feel right not to. To just like wing it and treat it like some like you can't treat shit underground all the time.
Right.
There's a point where you have to learn to start stepping it up. You can't just treat shit informally forever and like, fucking. There's a certain point where you're like, okay, yeah, we need to start having better relationships with the venues. We need to start controlling who's here because some people can't handle themselves in the venues. Some people don't even deserve to be there in the venues because they're disrespectful or they're not working hard enough, You, like, learn that as you fail and as people fail. Like, you don't just, like, know that. You really have to fall, like, 100 times to be able to get up. To know how you need to get up,
With this tour, it's definitely different from the past because this is your second tour. It's been...
Yeah, what do you notice is different?
What do I notice is different?
Yeah.
I notice...
Because you've been to, like... You've shown face at, like, all of my, like,
right.
U.S. tours so far, even back in the Spider Gang.
Yeah. I was there at the first Spider Gang show. Yeah. I remember that one, too. The routing is a lot better, I will say, as far as the venue days. I mean, I know we had to backtrack tonight, but
it's like
not even a big deal. It's the only one. The rest days are very well planned out. There's been like one day I felt kind of deprived of sleep, but that's nothing to Jay. Jay's doing a great job. Mm-hmm. He is very on point with everything. Whenever Drew and I think of something we may need, he's already thought about it.
Yeah, Jay's great. I love Jay.
He is down to the parking spots. I'm like, oh, where are we going to park? He's like, I got you guys' spot reserved up there. He always thinks about us. He's always texting us when we're stopping on the route.
That's why I chose Jay to manage me, because he's always, compensating for what I lack or don't want to do. He's always like filling that perfectly. He where I can't say something very like harsh and truthful sometimes to someone, he'll do it, and I need him there. I could not do this without him.
And you should have to only focus on your performance. I've heard you say a few times, even on this tour and before this tour, that you have a lot of people depending on you to feed their families and such now. You know what I mean? You're employing people.
Just be able to do their thing,
So I've noticed that Jay has that level of seriousness, to put the business end first. But it's also like, it's good that he does that, because you shouldn't have to do that. At this point, you should be focusing on your performance, because your performance, so many people are depending on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I don't want to have to think about the merch getting sold. I want to be able to trust that somebody who cares about that is handling it. I don't want to have to worry about settling up with the venue and like doing all that shit after the show, because I need to like warm down my vocals and my body and chill out, decompress. I need to worry about getting good sleep and being inspired and etc. I can't worry about bullshit.
I've noticed the production on this tour is way better than even the last one.
Yeah, this is the best, like, I think, performance that we're putting on. I think it's like twice as good as even the last U.S. tour.
Right. Even the schedule, down to the scheduling, is even better. Like that app Jay added Drew and I to, that says literally everything.
Yeah. And
I mean, to where you have your set list in a drive, you know what I mean, and your team can view it and the band members can view it.
Yeah.
All the changes, like, just everything about this tour is so much more professional, on point.
Yeah, it's like
and
the
it
future.
Creates a better product for your fans as well.
Definitely, yeah.
The one thing I have noticed on this tour too that I really like is you're not using backing vocals a lot.
Yeah.
Songs like Holocaust and Genocide that weren't meant to be performed live. Like I understand,
or I don't have like the ability to open the project file and like fix, take my vocals out.
Right.
I have to have it in, but even then, we try to like mix some of it out, take some of the treble out, and stuff like that.
I think that is a huge step in just being a performer, because I notice a lot of people are shit performers and they're just performing over their own backtracks.
Yeah, I recently saw some like clip on the internet of like Earl and the Alchemist like having some kind of a conversation, and they mentioned that I think the Alchemist brought up that rappers are like, who started like just rapping over the sound of yourself in the backing track, and then Earl comments on the fact that there's like a vacuum being created because of people punching in and people treating the art with this new creativity, which is like, he says in the video, it's like both good and bad. It's both like good for the art and bad, because it's like you're doing something like impossible vocally.
Right.
Like some people record stuff in a way that it's impossible to replicate, that punch-in shit. Which, like, no shade to the punch-in niggas. Like, I'm friends, like, some of my best friends punch in constantly. Dillinger punches in, Ed punches in, I know Flacco punches in, Brumane punches in. Like, I punch in sometimes. Everyone punches in. It's just, like, a new way of recording that's, like, only enabled by the way that we do digital, like, music now.
Right.
But it doesn't lend itself to being able to perform it properly, because you're just rapping over the sound of yourself, unless you're doing something really creative where you maybe take every other bar out. And even then, it's like, it's almost impossible to say all this shit.
Right.
Like, you can't rap that. It's fun to make songs, and I make a lot more songs now. That's why a lot of my newer music I can just perform vocally, because I'm writing it as if I'm, like, able to recite it. If you can't recite it, it doesn't hold the same power, in my opinion. Oral tradition is like a huge thing in a lot of cultures, in human culture in general, and being able to like chant something or say something is important. If you can't like even recite the art, it doesn't hold very much weight. It's only headphone music at that point, really. It's like it is a disservice to the people going to a concert to have the whole show be just like backing tracks. No live instrumentation. If I do have a backing track, I like to have Jack drumming, because it just like adds a layer of new emotion on top of the thing that people are used to hearing.
Holocaust with the live drums is really impressive.
Yeah, it has a cinematic aspect to it,
Definitely. I heard you speaking on the first Spider Game tour. I forget who you're speaking with, but I overheard you speaking to somebody about how certain tracks when you punch in, you're unable to perform them live, like we had just spoken about. Has doing those first couple tours kind of influenced you to write music that you can perform live?
Yeah, definitely.
And has that affected
like
the creative?
Sitting down like to make my fucking set list for like Europe, the first Europe tour, or Australia, and being like, they want to hear me do this one, but I actually can't do it. Like Jack Daniels,
right?
Which I've only done for the first time, like on this tour, because I kind of like figured out a way to somewhat do it, but it's like, like this is impossible, and like that's not good. It's not good to sit down and be like, I have to perform for this amount of time, and I can't even like reach it. I have to figure out some other creative way to like get to that time frame, or play songs that I know people might not want to hear as much. So instead of that, you have to find creative ways to make music so that going forward you're not boxing yourself in at all,
Did that affect the creative process of this album at all? And how was the creative process of this album different from your previous ones?
So this album is the first album that I took like almost a full year to make. I think come like November, it'll be like a full 12 months since I started making The Future is Dark. I wanted to take longer to make an album. One, because I knew I'd be touring a lot and I would need more time. But two, because I wanted to like show my change as I made the album as well, and how my perspective might change. You know, you can hear songs on the project where I contradict myself, or I like reference an earlier thing in a new way.
Yep.
Because like the first song is about the platinum plaque. It's like a sequel kind of spiritually to LA Underbelly in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on House Made of Ash, I say, fuck a plaque, does it make you happy to win? Because it's like, I made House Made of Ash like 10 months after I made that first song. So now I've changed enough where I can almost address myself musically. I can almost speak to myself retroactively and show that. And I think that's why some people, it's going to take some people time to like the album. You know, a lot of my fans really enjoy the album, and I think I'm thankful for all the support. I thank them. Thank you guys. But there are some people that listened to the album and were underwhelmed or overwhelmed because it wasn't what they expected. But that's why I always say, like, going into a project expecting something is very poisonous to perception of art. That's like saying, like, you know your homie's going to finish a painting soon. You're, like, anticipating what it's going to look like before you see it. And then you see it and you're like, oh, I thought you were going to paint like a dog, but you painted a cat. I don't know if I like it as much now. That's, like, such a toxic way to consume art. And I think rap specifically and the fandom surrounding rap artists perpetuates that stupidity. That is so stupid to, like, go into that. And so making this album, I purposely wanted to make something that would be a somewhat challenging listen to some people. Yeah. You know, it has a lot of that, like, original Darkie, raw, fuck you, like, almost abrasive energy. And it also has songs that are very emotional and very subdued and very minimal, all the way to the last song, which is, like, very slow. It's like a minute of instrumental or something before I even vocally come in. That's like something that somebody who, you know, has less of a dopamine fried TikTok brain might be able to, like, perceive initially as redeeming. But yeah, the goal of the project was to show that my growth as a human and encourage other people to see things from a variety of perspectives at once rather than see things from one place, as we always tend to do. We always tend to think that, like, how we feel about something now is how we'll feel about it forever. But if there's anything that I know, you know, even just using Tyler as an example, I've always looked up to Tyler. One of the reasons that I even make music is Tyler, the Creator. And when he dropped Cherry Bomb, I thought that was great, but a lot of his fans weren't ready for that. That project got a lot of hate. And then after that, Flower Boy became, like, one of his, like, biggest, most critically acclaimed projects. But then me as a fan, then it was my time to be alienated. I wasn't alienated by Cherry Bomb the same way some people were. Yeah. But then I was alienated by that. Not because it isn't beautiful and great, but because I wasn't ready to accept art that way. He had matured in a way that I could no longer relate to. And only now, this year, has my interest in Tyler, like, picked back up again, and I've, like, gone retroactively and listened to his projects and appreciated them because I grew. Now I'm ready to like this thing and at least understand it, or try to understand it. Try to get the full art. You know, a lot of people aren't ready to do that, and I think that with this project, I wanted to make something that people might come back to years from now and see differently, because then they've spent as long with it as I have. I've spent a year with this project. I've been listening to these songs for a year, you know. People have only had it for, like, a week. I think it's been a week since it came out.
I remember I listened to it the first time on the way to Tampa to meet up with you guys. But do you feel like that perspective and, you know, giving fans what they don't expect, do you feel like something like that has kept you here, though? Because your music didn't get stale. You continuously changed and evolved your sound. So do you feel like at the same time as some fans feeling alienated, that's also the reason why you've been getting bigger and gaining a fan base?
And I also feel like that's why I've kind of, like, I feel as if Lil Darkie has kind of, like, hit a ceiling somewhat. because as some fans grow out of me, new ones grow into me, and it's like a very perpetual. That's why, like, compared to other artists, I've been able to maintain like a huge level of success for
Right.
a lot longer than other people.
Absolutely.
A lot of people like, they're going up and down, and it's like not stable. Like, this shit is really stable, and I think that is because I make a intentional effort to grow. I'm not just out here like making the same song that I made like years ago.
Right. You're not making Holocaust 100 times over and over again.
Which a lot of people would like if I did, but I can't.
Yeah.
I won't.
Your perspective has changed. You've grown a lot as an individual.
Yeah, and that's also part of the reason why next year I need to like take a step back from Darkie, just to make some things as myself, find myself again. Because I feel as I've gotten older, I relate less and less to this character that I've created, and I don't want to taint this character that I've created by being disingenuous through him, by making him say and do things that I know he wouldn't, because I cannot speak for him all the time anymore, I feel differently than things I've said in the past, In the past, I've said things like, fuck you rappers and all the clothes you buy. And now I'm a rapper who is pretty successful, and every once in a while, maybe I want to, like, drip. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Not
You're still
hurting,
human.
It's not hurting anyone, but it contradicts something that I've done. And I don't want to make Lil Darkie into me. He never was me, and he never will be me. He's something I've created, a vessel to speak, I have to know that thing's time can come too. Everyone's time can come.
So how much further do you feel like you want to take Lil Darkie? Do you feel like you've hit a ceiling creatively with it as well?
Yeah, that's why too. It's not just a ceiling in terms of like outreach or potential fans or like anything like that. I feel like I've also hit a ceiling creatively with it. Like, what the fuck else do I make this nigga say? Like, how am I gonna like? He's said and done everything I think he needs to. He's made a huge impact on the way people treat art and treat things. I can't imagine a world without the things that I've helped create. I don't know what the scene or rap would even be like without it, or Spider Gang, or everyone involved in that whole wave of like almost like counter scene.
Yeah.
What the scene was before that. And I'm not gonna try to put a timeline on it, After this tour, I'm gonna take some time to just make whatever I want, and we'll see what the fuck happens. But I don't like making determinations for myself in the future.
Right.
This tour, what is it, like a Halloween? Recording this on Halloween, tour ends, and I get to leave like December 17th or 18th or whatever. Still got a lot of time to go, and I have to take it a day at a time. Still have a deluxe album to drop on Christmas. There's more songs for the album that are going to come out and give people a new perspective on the project I've already made. I still have a lot planned. It's not like this is the end. This interview is not like the end. It's just like I can see that I might want to go do other things. I might want to go do, a cartoon. Might want to make music under other aliases and just kind of grow. Not everyone stays the same forever, and it's not healthy to. Also, I want to experiment with doing, I'm a good singer. I'm a good rapper. I'm not the best screamer. I'm a good screamer on the mic, but it's the same as punching in. I can't emulate live exactly the way that I record so high-pitched in my closet, I can't do that, and it's not good for me. It hurts my voice. By the end of this tour, I guarantee you I'm going to be like...
Yeah, your voice is going to be damn near gone.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of rest days, so hopefully it won't be quite as bad as it usually is. But because I want to put on a good show for every show this tour, so I'm taking the rest that I need. But that being said, I want to do a tour in the future at some point and have a career where I don't necessarily have to do that quite so often. Where when I do that, maybe a song at the end of my set where I do choose to scream, or moments where I choose to scream, it carries an emotional purpose. It's not necessarily just for the sake of it being edgy or loud, you know.
No, for sure. That's you said one thing that is the biggest lesson I've learned this year is to take life one day at a time, because I would always try to plan like 5 years ahead, and it kind of just at a point it seemed like every day I was just like, oh, let's get to the next thing instead of just like being in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So it's real good that you want to take a year off and you don't have any expectations of after that year. Do you have an idea this year? Like you said, you want to explore other creative avenues. Is music still included in that?
Yeah, definitely. I want to like just make things that are different, you know. I think I'm interested right now. I'm excited to get home and work on music because I want to work on songs that make me feel feelings that I haven't felt in a long time and that I find myself reminded of now. You know, like you know, we started this interview talking about like a GameCube game. You know, I used to play 1080 Avalanche, you know, that
Dude,
game, like the
yes.
snowboarding game.
Classic.
Listening to like fucking old rock songs and like techno songs in that game, and like I want to make music that elicits a more overall emotional response in a new way,
Mm-hmm.
rather than it being more message focused and idea focused and concept focused. I feel like a lot of my music has blown up for not only being abrasive sonically, but also for the ideas associated with it, you know, like kill all humans and like these crazy ideas, and then they're depicted visually, and it's like the appeal of the music isn't just in the music, you know, and hasn't been. It's been also in the ideas that surround it, you know.
Right.
Let's make a song about like being cowboys. Let's make a song about like being fucking ISIS. Let's make a song about like all this crazy shit. I kind of want to just like make some music as me for a little bit, you know, because I actually feel like I can finally. I did that before I started doing Darkie, and I started doing Darkie because I grew frustrated with the fact that I couldn't fully realize the potential of that.
Mm-hmm.
And now doing Darkie for all these years and touring, I feel has taught me what I need to know to move on to the next phase of my musicianship and my artistry. I could not have done justice, you know, to my art in the way that I plan to, in the way that I have been with the music I haven't even, you know, released on this project and stuff, if I hadn't learned all that, if I hadn't done all that. I think it's like
Do you think it's better to contradict yourself and admit that you've contradicted yourself than to try to stay the same character?
it's not about contradicting yourself. It's about growing
Mm-hmm.
and accepting when you've grown or changed. Like, you know, contradicting yourself is like a strange way of putting it, I suppose, because it implies that you are thinking two things at the same time, but that's not the case. It's that you're thinking something different than a past version of yourself thought, or in a new way, and that's good. It can also be bad, you know, but it is different, and like change is the only way that we can progress,
right,
in any respect, you know. You know, you can change for the better and change for the worst, but if you're consciously trying to change for the better, you know, then contradicting yourself or like being what other people would perceive as hypocritical isn't necessarily bad. I think it's good. I think it's good when artists change their minds.
I guess the way I was trying to phrase it is, you think it shows growth that you admit you thought differently than you do now.
Yeah.
I guess that's a better way of
it's
phrasing
super
what I was trying
redeeming.
to say.
You know, I love seeing people come out. You know, it's like people saying, you know, oh, this is how I feel. You know, I used to feel this way, but I feel this way now. Or like even when you make a mistake, apologizing.
Right.
Learning to apologize to people when you've hurt them, or learning to forgive, you know, others. Truly forgive others, you know, and let go of things is hard. But I feel like as I've gotten better at those things, I've gotten better at, you know, forgiving myself, you know, for who I've been, for what I've done.
Yeah.
Move forward and try to be better.
Do you think it's almost more important forgive yourself than to seek forgiveness from other people?
I think it's more important to forgive yourself than to seek forgiveness from other people, because forgiving yourself is the first step to forgiving others. You know, you can't forgive others in your heart and move on, you know, until you've accepted like what you've done wrong. I was just having this conversation, you know, recently. Like, you need to accept what you've done wrong before you can associate positively with the people and things around you. You know, people like to hang on to trauma and hang on to baggage and be like, point the finger and be like, you know, well, you did this and you did that. Oh, you did that. I can't move on. You know, I don't even like want to be good with you. But when you hold on to negativity, it's like corrosive, you know. It eats at your heart. It eats at your soul. It eats at the space in your mind. It eats at your ability to think about things that you need to. When you allow yourself to be around negative influence or input, and you allow yourself to retain it and let it bounce around in you, it's destructive. It's important to learn to allow things to pass, you know, through you, and feel them, and like experience something bad and like feel it for what it is. That's super important. People don't do that. It's way easier not to.
And speaking of things that are way easier, last night you gave a speech, which I found it very, very interesting that you pulled up the podium and people automatically started chanting speech without that being like a planned thing.
Yeah, I did that as like a visual gag for the tour.
Yeah.
It wasn't intended to like necessarily insinuate that, because I did like kind of speak at the end of every show last tour.
Yeah, you did.
So this tour I was like, I'm going to maybe like just keep it more symbolic. But then, you know, people ask, they yell speech at you, and it's like, okay, you kind of got to just like come up with something, you know.
But you said last night, you said it's way easier to be angry than it is to be a good person and it is to be nice to people. Mm-hmm. Is that something that has been on your mind a lot lately, or was that something that was kind of like brewing in your head throughout the day?
Yeah, there's a lot of subconscious, you know, a lot of subconscious shit, a lot of stuff going on in my life, you know, both with family and friends, that led that to be on my mind. You know, it is easier to obsess over shit that doesn't matter and act like you have the moral high ground and act like you're all this and that and, oh, you matter so much. It's like it's potatoes. Like, it's literally it's like meaningless. Like, you lose it all. We don't keep any of this. You know, this interview will be watched and then forgotten, you know. But it's like a pedal hit, or like a pebble hitting a pond.
Yeah.
It ripples, and it affects things imperceptibly. You know, it affects the trajectory of things when you make a decision. And to choose to do things one way or another is the only thing that we feel like we have. You know, it's arguable whether free will is even real or not, or whether this is all just like a very complicated domino effect. But we feel like we can choose. And that's what's important. It's important to feel like and affect the world around you positively.
Do you feel like, you know, at the point when you're at Rolling Loud, and you kind of had everything hit you and that circle pit was going, do you feel like there was a certain point where you started to put more of your personal life into your music? Because I know Darkie's always been a character, and you said you created Darkie to express feelings that you yourself couldn't express. But I feel like there was a point where you started to put a lot of your personal life more into your lyrics.
Yeah.
When do you think that point was?
It's almost like Lil Darkie is like an eclipse. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, here I am, and then I created this thing outside of me, and then as I created under that thing, I became it. You know, people started calling me Darkie, like I was Darkie. And then now, as time has gone on, it's passed. It's kind of like it was subconscious. Like, I became this thing that I had created for myself. When I spoke to people as an introvert, as a shy person, as someone who hated themselves, I could speak to somebody from a perspective where I could help them, where my attitude and the way that I said things and the way that I spoke to them could affect them. You know, when they come up to me after a show and they're like, "Oh my God, Darkie," and I spoke to them. For a while, it was like an act that I had to put on to do that, because if I had it my way, I'd like run and hide and like not talk to anyone.
Yeah.
I forcibly like put myself in the position to become this thing that I wanted to be. I wanted to be a guy who said his mind and did whatever, and I like put on this face to be able to do that, and then eventually I gained the confidence to be that. It was no longer an act.
Mm-hmm.
It was me. And then now I've retained those qualities that I wanted to retain, like my confidence in myself, my ability to speak my mind and be that person. I no longer need this character to do that, you know? So I'd say it wasn't so much like there was a time I started to do that or anything like consciously. It just like happened.
Yeah.
My music started becoming more about like me and less about being like this fake thing. And that's like what the Future is Dark tries to have, is like a balance, to show almost that gradient. If you listen to it from beginning to end, you can almost feel that gradient of me like becoming a new person. And then that's also what the deluxe has, you know, some moments of that show that maturation and juxtaposition of opinions and feelings.
You go and on the Future is Dark. You speak on a lot of things: drugs, social media, AI, the social credit system.
Yeah, I try to
microplastics.
Yeah, I reference lots of shit that I'm thinking about all the time.
What kind of influenced you to speak on just everything?
I mean, anything I rapped on that project was just stuff I was thinking about, you know. I am a hypochondriac. I am very health conscious. You know, I'm not the. It's like it again is like a thing where it's like I have like bad habits, you know, like from the time being in Spider Gang and being in like the Long Beach apartment and just being like down bad and crusty and shit. You know, I developed poor habits like smoking weed and like taking chops and like, you know, drinking and stuff like that, like or vaping, like stuff I didn't do before, and that contradicted, you know, my very hypochondriac sensibilities, but it also made them worse, because then when like, you know, I was smoking for years and I started to, you know, have like a heavy chest or like not breathe as well or like have trouble sleeping because of that, I would, you know, I attributed it to like these negative habits that I had picked up and was like somewhat glorifying in the music. So you can see, you know, like I used to like rap about like that shit like it was like so dope because it was new to me and it was so dope. And then songs like Do More Drugs show that like change. Like, okay, now I know that I've said this. I want to transition from that, maybe spread a more positive message.
Do you really think the Future is dark?
I mean, it's ironic that like it's called that because I don't like necessarily think that. It's more of like it's obviously a play on the name, but it's also you know, things have to get worse before they can get better. You know, you got to bottom out before you want to get up. That's happened to me in my life, you know. That's how a lot of things end up happening. And I think I don't really think the future is dark. I think there is like a lot of hope for people and for life. But we are entering an era of unprecedented concern in which every show that I've been doing, you know, when I ask these kids, do you have faith in your government? There's like 1,000 people in front of me on any given night raising their hand saying they don't trust their government. You know, I have like nooses hanging, plush life-size versions of the like party mascots of this country. The fact that like so many people don't see a problem with that and think it's dope, just like I do, is indicative of like change. And it shows like how we're living in underneath a regime almost that doesn't respect our perspective, or a lot of our perspectives, and how a lot of us are slaves to these constructs that they've been raised by. You know, a lot of the older generation and even some of the people in my generation are indoctrinated into this two-party system, this binary way of thinking, this, that, left, right, up, down, you, me, black, white, girl, boy. It's not that, you know, gay, straight, like lefty, you know, conservative. There's no, it is not that. It is not like that. That is so stupid. You know, right now in this room, there's like a billion colors that I can see. There's a billion shapes, a bunch of elements. Like everything is so vastly infinite. The fact that like human beings can boil shit down to that binary like serves only to benefit those that oppress us, you know, that use us to farm data and use our dopamine against us, you know. I think there's a line in the album that's like, take advantage of the way my brain has evolved to survive, you know. Sell me shit I do not need and make me feel like it's a prize. They're just hijacking the brain. And we're letting them, you know. We open up our phone and like we expose ourselves to shit that hijacks us.
Yeah.
You know? Kids are not being intimate, you know, the way that they used to, and like growing to love each other slowly and romantically. You know, shit is raunchy. We're going out of our way to like sleep with people and do all this shit. Like it's all like pleasure based, but like the true rewarding pleasure comes from like commitment, from slowly, you know, from fighting for a relationship, not just like giving up when things get hard initially all the time. We're losing that. We're losing that because like our brain literally is becoming like evolving to becoming capable of that. The future like is looking kind of dark, and the reason the project is about that, and I say a lot of things about that, is in the hopes that like that project can help maybe make things not so dark. You have to acknowledge like that this shit is wrong for it to get better.
Right.
A lot of the topics I notice in this interview end up like coming back to that same thing of like change and having to like accept that we need to change things, so that, you know, is the future dark? No, you know, the future is everything. There's gonna be so much. There's gonna be genocide. There's gonna be massive failures, and there's also gonna be huge W's that niggas take in the future. You know, it's gonna be a mixed bag. But acknowledging that shit has gotten dark is the first step to change it. Everyone's avoiding it. You know, everyone's sitting there huffing the vape, fucking distracting themselves from change. You know, we got like all these kids with such like strong opinions, not doing anything productive or constructive to actually affect change. It's all just anger and performance art. You know, it's like performative. You know, people going out of their way to, you know, I had a fan hit me up on this tour telling me like, you know, why haven't you like said anything about Israel-Palestine issue? Like, why haven't you picked a side? Like, you're part of the problem. Like, you have the power. And it's like, like, you know what? Like, first of all, like, I'm not from any of that. You know, like, how you affect change is, like, it has to be very intentional.
Yeah.
We can't just be going around here, like, throwing shit around, being impatient, being rude, you know? I think the future isn't necessarily dark. Now is dark. Now is the future. You know, that's why I named it that. It's dark right now.
Yeah. Are humans and monsters one and the same?
Yeah. Like, we are the monsters, you know? Like, that's why the project starts with that. Is because, like, when you're a kid, you're so scared of, like, the monsters under your bed in the dark, you know, things like that, the unknown. Like, sometimes I'd be scared to go to sleep because I'd be scared I was going to have a bad dream.
Yeah.
Like, when you're young and you're innocent, the monsters are outside of you. But as you get older, you realize that you become the things you hate and you become the monster. You know, that's why in the video for Humans and Monsters it starts that way. Like, you become evil and hurt and do evil if you're not careful. A lot of us like don't realize the hurt that we're doing, you know. We don't realize the hurt that we do to ourselves and how like that's an injustice to like our mother who carried us for 9 months, you know. No matter who that is, you know, whether you like your mom or not, you know, treating this life with some reverence, super like important. And I don't think it's done a whole lot.
Do you think it's human nature in a sense to kind of be selfish and kind of think more about yourself than others?
Yeah,
because I've noticed.
I mean, it's out of survival.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people do that because it's survival. You know, like if I'm in the forest and like there's only enough apples or deer, you know, for my family to survive or yours, if it comes down to it, you know, that is set in place to protect your genetic potential. You know, my blood will outlive your blood. It's built into humans to kill and to fight and to be that way, you know. So that's why it makes sense why things are the way they are. I'm not saying like we live in this crazy fucked up. Like, it actually makes perfect sense why shit is fucked up the way it is. Makes perfect sense. But breaking free of that evolutionary cycle, that's like the biggest challenge I think for us as a species. Will we succeed? I don't know. When will we learn to not let the few make decisions for the many? You know, when will we learn to want to educate ourselves? You know, albeit, you know, it tortures us when we're educated. You know, although it tortures us to be educated and to be smart and to know the horrors of reality. When are we going to seek out our evolution as a species? And that starts with seeking out your evolution as an individual. So unless everybody is committed to evolving and to change and to learning and to patience and respect, like, we will not get closer. As long as everyone is, you know, seeing the world around them being like the way it is and not saying anything about it, you know? We live in the era of like, shut up and let me do this, you know? Like, if you tell somebody like to stop vaping, they'll like clown you, you know? Like, if you're at a party and they're like, and you see like some person you don't know vaping and you go up to them and be like, hey, like, stop. You show compassion for someone you don't know, like, you're a fucking weirdo. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like, I get it, you know, like, oh, I don't know you, you know, who am I to tell you what to do? But, like, that you can't even show compassion for people that you don't know without it being misconstrued as, like, negative.
Because for some reason that goes against, like, the status quo now.
It's the same reason that why people hate, like, Christians who go out in the street and are, like, you know, talking about, like, the gospel, like, in public. You know? I don't hate those people. I may disagree with the way they're going about it because they don't realize that, like, by being annoying, you're making it so no one can hear your message sometimes. But, like, that inherently is good. Trying to, like, preach, like, a message to help people. Because, like, you know, for every one of those guys that does that, that's obnoxious and, like, super evangelical and annoying and, like, actually toxic, there's people that actually want to help, you know. We live in the era of, like, not talking to our neighbors, not even liking our neighbors, you know. There's no support system. Like, if everything went to hell, it would be complete bedlam. Like, everyone would just eat each other. There's no, like, unity. People don't understand, like, how strong they are together.
Like, humanity is as one.
Absolutely, you know.
Do you think social media has played into any of this at all? Or the internet?
Yeah. We feel so disconnected from each other because we see how we are when we're free from our physical form. The social media bubble frees us from our physical form. It frees us from death. It frees us from the perception of each other's pain, you know. Like, if we live in a village of 1,000, say you and I live in a village of 1,000 people, someone starts talking shit to you, you end up having to resolve that, whether that be through a fight or one of you kills the other or some resolution is made through the village, system of justice, or so there will be like a addressing of it, and you and that person, whether you like it or not, will get to know each other through that, and you'll learn things about their life, or like maybe you have known this person your whole life, that like their dad died when they were young and this and that, and like they struggle with this and they have these problems. When you see a comment on your post that's just like fuck you, you're whack, or like a DM that's like, oh, you're the worst, like someone just like literally hitting you up just to be mean, you realize like when disembodied, the soul is like the soul is like a ball of energy, and we're in a physical body. It's contained in here. When you're on social media, that energy is allowed to like lash out and be crazy. And that then is like a feedback loop. Then the people that are using that start acting like that in real life. And now we're seeing like that unprecedented era of like people acting like like people recording TikToks and shit like in public.
Yeah.
For attention, like
just
in front
doing,
of others,
like cringe stuff,
like because they've grown so disconnected socially from the shit around them, like there is no unity anymore. Shit, like people will like straight up walk into Walmart and harass people just to like put it on the internet, and like,
right.
Or like walk in. Like I've seen the videos of like people walking into Walmart and like licking ice cream and like putting it back, and like
I saw some shit like that.
Like
too.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah, It's almost like social media, like likes, have given like people a false sense of dopamine to the point where they don't properly know how to interact now. You know what I mean? They just lash out and do shit like that.
Almost more about like that than like money.
It's almost like they treat everybody else like NPCs.
Or like not even money, like just like money being a symbol of just like acquiring some kind of and money's a whole other thing we can go into. But like value, achieving value. Staking your claim, having something that is yours. Like a lot of us are gonna, like as time goes on and we allow like mega corporations and the few to make decisions for the many, like we will lose our autonomy and our independence as people, and we're losing our claim. Like people are gonna start having to get comfortable with and learning to get comfortable with owning nothing. Mm-hmm. That you will own nothing and you will like it. Like thing that's happening. They're buying all the single family homes. Like people in my generation can't even afford a home. I'm like in probably like I'm afforded privileges a lot of people aren't afforded by being like successful at what I do. And people hate me for that. There are people that hate me for being successful.
It's fucked.
It's fucked. A dude hit me up like yesterday and like I don't check my DMs a lot, but when I'm on tour, it's like I'll be in the van for so many hours. It's like, what am I gonna do? I'm not a big gamer or anything like constantly, so I'm gonna, just I'll scroll something or I'll respond to some people that are asking me questions in my DMs. And I saw this guy who was like, "Fuck you, like no wonder like you rap about how you got bullied. If I knew you, I would bully you too." And I was like, huh, let me put it into practice, like. Just being kind. And so I responded and was like, hey, like don't waste your time like talking to me, like do something positive for someone you love. I'm sure instead of messaging me that, you could have told your mom that you love her and that she looks pretty today, but you chose to waste time telling someone you don't even know something that would make them feel bad. Like if you can't see that that's what makes you pathetic, I don't know if there's any hope for you. And they responded being like, oh, you know what? Like, that's crazy that you would even say that. I don't even think you'd see this. Like, that makes me think about shit differently, Like, and I was like, yeah, you don't have to like me or my music to just, like, let me exist. To have some, like, respect and some common decency. You don't have to, doesn't take a lot of effort.
Yeah. It's almost like people want to focus on negativity too much.
Yeah, it's like,
and like putting their energy in the wrong place.
It's like, don't worry about me, bro. Like, if you don't like my music, don't stream it. You're lame as fuck. You're lame as fuck for like wasting your time being mean to people. Like
people just wake up and just decide to put their energy towards like hate. It's so strange. I don't
like,
get it.
Dude, like I feel so sad that like that is what your existence is. Like, please try. Like if you put the amount of effort you're putting into this into like being kind or like volunteering or like doing something good or even learning something or bettering yourself, then like the world would be so much better. You know, if the effort if the effort you put into being like a troll and getting likes and like causing people to be upset, if you put that into the opposite, like imagine how amazing the world would be. Imagine if you could be an anti-troll. Like instead of trolling people, all you do is like comment nice things and like juice people up and like tell people that need to hear it that like they're worth it and they should keep trying. Like that's awesome. Let's start an anti-trolling movement. Let's have niggas like being nice, like obnoxiously nice. Why don't I see that? Because it's so much easier to be a piece of shit. It's so much easier to just like be mean and tear other people down than it is to prop them up and build them into something, help them, you know.
Do you think that kind of goes back to what we were saying, like speaking on like survival instinct? Like definitely like putting yourself over.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I see this guy who has all the berries and I can't touch him. I can't get any berries. So like I'm just going to like make fun of him and do a little poopy dance and like tell everybody that he's annoying. So maybe eventually enough people will hate him that we can go take all his berries. That's all it is. It's literally just like some tribal bullshit. But like that is lizard brain. That is straight up monkey lizard brain. Like until we can evolve past monkey lizard brain, how are we going to become like what we're meant to evolve into next, you know? How are we going to transcend to a place that we can all be happy, you know? We have enough resources on Earth already to make it so that every human being can wake up every day and have no hunger.
Just the basics.
Can have everything. Like, people could have everything they need to like be happy. The fact that like we don't fight for that shows a spiritual disconnect. The fact that the religions of the world are not moving us closer to that shows a flaw in them, you know? Like the belief systems and the morals that like humans have are not strong enough to unify us across countries and cultural boundaries. Like I think it's time to start just like abolishing and forgetting about things that are objectively not optimum, you know? Like, yeah, like there's some religions that teach you like, you know, do not kill, you know, treat this with reverence and this would treat your family with reverence. That's all well and good. But then in the same breath, like they'll say things like it's okay to like assault women and it's okay to like sell, like own slaves and like it's okay to like do all this shit. It's like, can we like, why do we value tradition over progress so much?
I do see that a lot.
And that goes back to why we value comfort over discomfort. People are afraid to change because it's uncomfortable. We need to start, I think, encouraging people to be uncomfortable, to step outside their comfort zone. Like, it's like, you know, when you're fat, it is hard to go to the gym and be in there with all the other niggas judging you and like, oh, they think your form is bad and you're lifting lightweight and they're making fun of you, like whether they're doing it on purpose or not. You know, that's how I felt when I first went into the gym. I couldn't even do a fucking push-up. It was like from 2019 to 2021, I completely lost the ability to do a push-up because I was like making Holocaust and like making music and drawing and shit. That's emasculating. My hormones were all out of whack. Like that led to like things like, you know, my mood and emotions, and even like, you know, as far as like my sense of self and libido and like gender identity, like everything was like thrown into like question mark land because I just like was not treating myself properly. Until people start treating themselves properly and like not being afraid of changing, you know, like you have to overcome that survival instinct to just want to be comfy all the time.
Has it always been hard for you to speak your mind? I mean, has it ever been hard for you to speak your mind? Because like, you've always, as long as I've known you, you've always been very open about what you think.
You like interviewed me when I was having like my personal renaissance for the first time on the Gunk Rock tour back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
That was like me. That was like the first year of me like being like fuck it, you know.
Do you know? So
and it, like there was like a time where it was like it's like a cliff that I fell off of.
Yeah.
Where I was like, fuck it, like pleasing all these people is like not even like worth it. Like to change things, I have to like create some friction. I have to like say my piece and say that shit is whack. Even if everyone thinks it's not whack, I have to say like why I believe that. I can't just like be silent. You know.
Was there
There's a
any
lot of
changes?
Huh?
Was there any changes in your life, like right when you decided to make that decision, like as far as people support in relationships?
Yeah,
and
definitely.
things
There
like
was a
that?
collective that I was in prior to Spider Gang
Yeah,
that ended up falling apart.
we know about a few of
my,
them.
Yeah, my relationships with those people dissolved, and that isolation and that like finding like new brothers and stuff definitely like contributed to that renaissance of
Mhm.
self, like finding new people who could accept me for who I was changing into. And then even, you know, now like post Spider Gang and moving forward, you know, the relationships that you have with people in that same way change and evolve over time, and you meet new people that you realize you resonate with more now that you're growing, you know, not necessarily more but just differently. Like that's just a fact of life, and it's awesome. If things stayed the same, shit would be so boring, you know. It's good to have people that'll be there for you forever.
Yeah.
But it'll always just be a few people. Might just be like one person. Some of us don't have anyone that is there with us our whole lives. All we have is really ourselves. And now that I finally feel I'm an adult, I'm excited to move on to the next thing that I think will be greater, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely believe that what I go on to do will create a new ceiling, a higher
Definitely.
ceiling, you know. I'm excited to move on to that. I'm excited to grow with the people that love me and the people that appreciate me and the people that take strength from me, and help them also grow and help them to realize who they are. You know, that's the most important thing to me, bro.
Yeah, you do care a lot about your fans.
Yeah, I don't
And the
even
people
like
who-
calling them fans all the time. I mean, I call them that as a default, but you know, like I just care a lot about like the people.
Yeah. And I think people get that sense, you know, when they see you perform or they hear you speak. I feel like a lot of people get that sense that this is a character, but like you just said, the eclipse happened. And they're
Yeah.
getting a sense of you, and that's why they can connect to it more.
Yeah. And whatever I make music under next, you know, like, or choose, you know, other aliases I want to make music under and stuff, like, that will be another phase. And eventually I might come back to this, or I might go do something else, you know, like, I'll cross that bridge when I get there. But that is how I perceive it. You know, I'm a constantly changing human. All of us are, you know. Things happen in our lives that change us, and it's important to like be accepting of ourselves.
Yeah.
And explore ourselves within reason, you know, as long as we're not really hurting ourselves.
And I know there's a lot of people out there, fans of yours in particular, who are struggling with their own sexuality and are in relationships and stuff like that. How did you work through that with your current relationship? Was that difficult?
Yeah. There have been times like of difficulty, you know, because I've been in a relationship for quite some time.
Yeah.
Like
And I applaud that.
Like in a few years, it'll be like a decade or something that I've been in the
I
same relationship.
highly applaud that.
And like it has been difficult, you know. There have been phases where it's like I'm growing with this person.
Mm.
We're not always the same either, you know. It's important to realize that people fit into your life as long as they do. I'm only in the relationship I'm in and have been for as long as I have been because it's been consistently positive for my growth, and, you know, been consistently positive for all parties involved, you know. A lot of people like stay in relationships that are negative because it's comfortable. It's the same reason why like, oh, like doing this drug makes me feel kind of like shit, but I'm just going to keep doing it cuz like that's who I am, or it's easier, or like I'm scared of quitting cuz it'll make me feel bad, or like I'm scared I won't be able to function without it. Like relationships aren't something that can like fill a hole in you. You have to be complete to fully treat the other person in your relationship properly. And honestly, I only feel like I've been truly able to treat my partner with the respect that they deserve, like this year. You know, before that, it's not like, you know, I wasn't respecting them, but
Yeah.
I wasn't being the man they needed me to be until now.
I feel that.
You know, we were like kids before, imperfect and would hurt each other and be immature, and that's fine. But, you know, it took like that, like a long time to get to the point where I feel like it's like looking very complete. You know, a lot of people in our generation struggle with like their sexual identity and this and that, and like if there's one thing I could like say to that, it's like not to take it that seriously. There's like there's billions of people on Earth. You know,
I feel like a lot of it is
it's
also
important to like be with whoever like makes you happy. You know,
I feel like a lot of people. It's also rooted in that people actually care what other people think about them, and actually care like about like what society, what pocket society tries to place them in.
Yeah, it's overwhelming. You know, especially with so many eyes on you nowadays. You know,
Yeah.
like
It's like privacy's gone in a sense.
privacy's gone. People are putting themselves out there. You know,
A lot of people willingly do it though, which is like strange because like we were talking about before, it's almost like people care about what they think of them, and people want to go with the status quo and what's cool. You know what I mean? And what's like the relevant opinion. And I feel like a lot of like your tour even right now like represents like breaking that, because like you're showing like America and society in particular has like two sides to it, and there's no one willing to like find the middle ground. Everybody like picks a team, kind of. You know what I mean? I don't know if that was really more of a question or like a statement, but
no, yeah, it is like that was the goal with this whole collapse of modern society vibe. Is like the Dark Army was kind of like about waging a war of self discovery, and then the collapse of modern society is kind of like the now that I feel like I found myself. What is like the message I want to impart on people?
So what does the sideways peace sign represent for you?
It's that same middle, you know. It's not like peace and war, you know, like or like violence and peace and shit. It's like the sideways peace sign and the yellow color represents to me like the yellow is almost like the color of caution. It like puts you like it's like unease. That's where we're at. Like it feels like we're on the edge of being at any moment like right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And it represents also that the answer is not to just kneel down and let shit happen and lose that ability to fight, but it's also not to destroy unnecessarily. You know, it's to like be conscious about the dichotomy, you know, choosing when to be peaceful, choosing when to be violent strategically and with like intention. It's also like imparting a message of like, you know, like just something like the government doesn't like hearing, you know, but that like violence is necessary at times, you know. If you see injustice being committed and you can stop it, you know, stop it. Let's try our best to like actually make a difference and fight and die trying, you know. When we go out, you know, we want to know that we lived every day trying.
Yeah.
And being smart and doing our best and not like just curling up, you know.
One thing I noticed on this tour, you and Q performed Composition 11 for the first time. You got very emotional on stage the first time. At the end of that, when Q started playing the trumpet.
Yeah.
What is the connection you and Cube have with that song? Why is it so emotional for the both of you?
That song is super emotional. You know, I can't speak for Cube. I'm sure he will or has already, if you've done that interview already, articulated that for himself. But for me, that song is very emotional because we made that song when nobody like really like cared very much, you know? Like I could go on a tour when we made that song and like, you know, I could come to Maryland and like 10 or maybe like 10 people might show up. I don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the fact that like now he's on a stage like in a big like theater with lots of sound and like crazy lights and stuff, and he's like playing that same instrument that he like recorded in like our shitty fucking like apartment or whatever. That's like emotional. It's crazy that like it's like the way I could describe it is it's like throwing a rock, you know, and it hits the water like I mentioned earlier, you know, and then like years pass and then you finally like see like the ripple. You feel it and you're like, "Oh, that thing we did, like I finally like feel the butterfly effect of that." It comes full circle.
Mm-hmm.
Moments like that like are really beautiful to me. Like full circle, kind of like self-fulfilling moments like that. So that's why. It's not necessarily because of what the song's about or anything.
Yeah.
Which it is, you know, about something very important, but it's just seeing my homie's like life has affected people. You know, his energy when he made that beat and played that trumpet, and his literal like breathing life through that instrument helped to bring these like hundreds and thousands of people to see it again. That's incredible. If him literally breathing through something can cause a change, an inevitability, then like that just shows the power of action. He can say like not even a word, you know, and he can change things. That's incredible and it's beautiful.
And I can attest being in that venue with you guys every time still. We're about, what, 4 shows in now?
Yeah, I think, is it 4? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think 5 is tomorrow.
You can definitely feel the vibe change amongst the crowd. Once he steps up there with the trumpet and the spotlights on him, you can feel the vibe change. So that song is definitely powerful, not only for you, but for your fans too. But another song that I find is very powerful is Banana Pie.
Mm-hmm.
I find a lot of people connect with that song. What does Banana Pie represent to you?
Banana Pie is just like anything that is like you can like finish and like you want more of. It's like anything, like it's a song about addiction.
Mm-hmm.
The banana pie to you could be like a person you don't want to let go of, or like a drug you don't want to let go of, or, you know, it's all the same. Like anything that you can't get enough of. And like it's about that feeling of like constantly it's slipping through your fingers. You'll never like hold on to it. Something that just eludes you at every turn, you know. Like, yeah, you can get high, but then you won't be high eventually, and you'll miss being high. Isn't that almost more suffering than never knowing what it's like to be high?
Right.
That's kind of like what that song poses.
Do you feel like there's, at this stage in your life, do you feel like there's more power in being able to be sober?
Yeah, I take it day to day now. You know, I used to like make a lot of determinations and flip flop between like, okay, I'm gonna be sober for like hella months, and then like, okay, I'm gonna relapse and like do drugs. You know, I'm at the point right now where I've set a goal for myself for when I get off of tour and when next year comes around to chill. But that's not for me any longer. You know, I want to like have children and to settle down, and like that I have to do that in order to give like my future kin like the best chance at living. So I'm not really doing that for me. I'm doing that for people that aren't even here yet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's motivating me to do that. But on this tour, you know, I'm taking it day to day. You know, I don't smoke nearly as much as I used to. You know, I used to smoke from the time I'd wake up to the time I go to bed, you know. Had my stints with, like, you know, doing nicotine from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed, you know. It just, like, kills you. I like being able to function without it. There's power and beauty in being able to, like, enjoy being sober.
One thing that we've spoken a lot has been a common theme throughout this interview in particular has been growth.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like growth kind of led to Spider Gang disassembling?
Yeah, all of us growing up and needing some space, you know.
What was that? Because Spider Gang was a large collective. It's not like it was just you and a few people.
Yeah, it was like fucking
Like over a dozen
I think
people.
at its maximum like 16 people and shit, you know.
What was that conversation like amongst all of you guys when you guys made the decision to disband?
Yeah, it was a long time coming. Like, it was like, I'd say like a year to 6 months out, you could kind of see it going that direction.
Mm-hmm.
It just came down to, like, shit couldn't be sustained, you know. You can't force people to participate or give equally or take equally from something like that. You can't. When we would have Spider Gang meetings and stuff, you know, like, you couldn't have everybody express themselves or their opinion every time, you know. There would be people that would have stronger opinions and end up then therefore leading the group more. There would be people that would stay silent and therefore end up falling to the back and not really, like, controlling as much, but then therefore some of them might grow resentful of decisions being made for them and, like, etc. You know, like, there's just, like, things that it takes time for shit like that to happen, and it's still happening.
Yeah.
You know, like, the people that were involved in Spider Gang, our relationships are still changing and growing and will continue to change and grow for years to come until we die, I think that Spider Gang will follow us until we die.
It's always going to be a part of you.
Yeah. And so, like, I can't even tell you, like, what, in response to your question, can't even tell you, like, what, like, the moment was like or that conversation was like, because it wasn't a conversation. It was like a ice cube melting. It, like, took time, and it took, like, transfer of energy for us to be like, yeah, like, we need to, like, step away from this a little bit.
So it wasn't like a conversation. Was it more or less just like one by one people were like, I'm not really feeling this anymore?
It wasn't like either of those things. It really was like a combination of all of it, you know. Like, some of the people that initially wanted Spider Gang to end weren't the ones who, when it actually, like, ended up ending, like, some of them had, like, reversed their opinion and wanted it to keep going, and then some other people that wanted it to end then because of that kind of souring the mood and, like, just things, like, it was so complicated. I can't even, like, describe it to you because it's just so complicated. The social situation between, like, that many, you know, men, like, that's, like, indescribable.
Because a lot of people, including myself, when Spider Gang is Over came out, thought it was just satire.
That is the point. The point was to, like, leave it open-ended so that, because that is the most Spider Gang thing to do, is to, like, end the group without actually, like, making it clear if, like, it actually did. I feel like that was a very poetic way of ending it, you know. And some of the people, you could ask some of the members of Spider Gang if they think Spider Gang album or Spider Gang as a whole was a L. Some of them will tell you that it was a L. Some of them will tell you it was a W. I personally think it's a huge W. I think it was great. I think everybody's better for it now. I think we wouldn't be here without it. And we've all grown a lot from it and can only do what we do because of it. And I'm very thankful for all the people involved in it, and I love all of them very dearly. But, you know, some of us haven't spoken in months, you know. Like, you ask another one, you know, he might have a totally different opinion about it.
Do you think
he might have a different story to tell you, you know?
Yeah. Do you think Spider Gang ending was crucial to your growth as an artist?
Definitely. I think, like, me moving away from being in, like, the collective, because there was a lot of things about the collective that were somewhat limiting, you know. Like, whenever, like the first 2 Spider Gang tours, you know, those were, like, at points in my career where I could have gone and done, like, my own solo tours, but I didn't, you know. and I don't regret it. But I needed to like then go do my own thing.
Right.
You know? I needed to.
Do you think ending Spider Gang kind of influenced how your sound progressed?
No.
No.
I think my sound would have progressed either way. I really think that that my growth as an artist in terms of my own personal output of music actually is the thing that's like probably the least impacted by Spider Gang's existence. You know.
And I noticed, kind of go back into song meetings. On Dreaming, the Small Dark One album, you referenced a dream you had in 2009. I'm very curious as to what that dream was. Every time I listen to the song.
Let me see if I can remember which dream it is. Oh yeah, the one with the alligators and ninjas in it. I think I say that on the song. Yeah, I have a dream journal.
That's dope.
Yeah, man. You know those dreams where like that you had when you were like a teen, where like you like fall asleep and like there's a girl in the dream and you fall in love with the girl or whatever, and then you wake up and like you're just like, oh, I'll do anything to go back to sleep. Or you have a dream where it's like you fall asleep and you're in such like a crazy land and like you it almost feels like you spend like 10 years in the dream and then you wake up and it's like, oh.
Or the dream felt like 2 minutes, but you've been asleep for like 8 hours.
But it felt like it was like you met someone in the dream, like you made a great friend in the dream, or you had such an amazing adventure in the dream. It almost feels realer than real life and more fulfilling than real life. And then you wake up and it's like just like I'll give anything to just be asleep for 10 more minutes. It was like one of those kinds of dreams. It was like basically just like it was like an incomprehensible dream. Can I read it? Let me see if I can even read it. I have a note about that dream in here, but like the full thing I wrote about it's on my old phone. But yeah, it's just like this dream I had, bro, where I just like it was one of those where I didn't want to wake up. It was this dream where like this is one part of it. I can only like talk about this one part of it, but I like crossed this wall. There was like this fucked up place, and there was like I come into the dream and I'm looking around and it's like what I imagine like an occupied state is like. It was just like this crazy. It was nighttime, this crazy occupied place, and there's like this giant like almost Berlin Wall next to me, like a huge just wall separating you from going to like this other place. And there's this like little like kid standing in this like open space, and like there's like spotlights on the kid, and like there's like these people like coming up to like all these like half mutated people coming to like assault like this kid, and I'm like no, and then this kid like turns into like a mutant monster, like a head like grows out of it, like this massive jaws, and just like eats this guy, and like I run away and I'm like, where the fuck am I? Like a dream where like you have a dream and like there's so much lore in the dream, it's like someone wrote this, like,
yeah,
but then I just fell asleep and I'm in it. It's like, how the fuck did this happen? And I like get to the wall and like I like run through like the border checkpoint to get through the wall, and I'm on the other side of the wall now, and there's this like these people with hard hats, but they look like rice hats. You know, like rice hats, they're like really wide brim, but they're like made out of hard hat material, and I'm like, why do they look like that? And then like there's this like they're working on skyscrapers that are so big and tall that like things fall off of them, even if like one screw rolls off and falls down, it could kill you. And I saw a guy like it bonked off the side of his helmet, and he was like, oh my god. And I was like, oh, that's why they have that. And so the reason like that I mentioned that dream in that song is because it's like this dream where like this world is like so alive in my head. It's like not real, like, and I only got to be there for one night, but it's like this could be like a reality. And like the alligators and the ninjas are basically like in this other side of the wall. I like walk into this place where there's like it's like this like building, and then there's like a under building area that's filled with like this bubbling water, and there's like these alligators in it, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then there's like these like people that live there, and they're like they all come out to greet me, and it's like they're all real, like. And then in the dream, like I did things with these people and like went on adventures with these people and ate meals with these people and like shared conversations with these people and like fell in love with these people. They became like my family. And then like I like woke up and I can never see them again. And then like I went into real life and like went to like talk to people, and like none of the interactions I had in real life were as like pure and as valuable as these like fake dream people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I referenced that dream in that song, because it shows that like dreams can be realer than real life, like sometimes, you know, and more meaningful.
No, definitely.
But yeah, it's like, you know, totally like unrelated to other shit. It's just like that dream just inspired me. I love having dreams like that. And I haven't had as many dreams like that after that because of my drug use, you know, when you use THC and stuff and shit like that.
It definitely
it
affects
fries your brains, yeah.
Affects your REM sleep.
Fries your REM sleep.
But before this tour, you know, I've loosened up a little bit on this tour. I'm having fun. It's cool to be working in an environment that I like. You know what I mean, and doing something that I like. So I've loosened up a little bit on this tour.
You know?
But before this tour, I didn't smoke weed for 7.5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
The dreams hit me so vividly.
Mm-hmm.
Like I woke up and I'm like, oh shit, that like almost felt real. And I started doing a dream.
Like
I started doing a
almost
dream
didn't
journal.
Get good sleep because I was like awake all night.
Yeah.
You know?
It's I don't know. It's just some of the craziest shit how like drugs and like weed in particular for me like really affected that. Like I didn't realize like I didn't have a dream like for years because like I just smoked before bed all the time, or I had to use like a substance to get by. That's kind of why I asked you earlier, like is it more empowering to be sober? Because like the first day when I started on my journey to kind of chill back on smoking, the first day, about 2 weeks after I stopped, that I felt like I was able to go through the whole day without like a substance or anything was like the most empowering feeling like in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because like when you're addicted to things, you know, like we have both played with drugs in the past and stuff like that and experimented. Someone's having fun.
Crazy.
That kind of just threw off my train of thought. But yeah, it just kind of affected, you know, how you go about your day-to-day life. Like I was never able to just have a day where I was like, I don't need like a substance.
I feel fine just existing.
Yeah, right.
It is empowering. It's not empowering to like be sober like forever. Like it's empowering to be able to be sober.
Yeah, right. To be able to have that drink or just smoke and be like, I don't need this
like,
right after
to
this.
To be able to be like, yeah, like this is fun, but like I'm fine without it. It's hard to achieve that. It's a balancing act, you know.
What on this new album, I noticed you have a lot of metal influence. You know, in your music, you've taken a lot of influences from different genres and different things. But I noticed this album in particular, there was a heavy influence from metal and death metal and stuff like that. Where did you kind of draw that from?
Kind of stuff like I've either like always wanted to do, but I never knew the vocal technique, you know, to inhale scream or fry scream or like do like certain things, like, and now I can. I grew up on rock first before rap, you know, and before that, you know, forms of rock like reggae and shit like that. So like it was kind of a matter of like just going back to my roots, and like that's also like part of what I want to do next year is like make more music that I have all grown up listening to,
right?
Because now I can. I couldn't before. I wasn't skilled enough at making music. I had to hit a beat that someone had sent me, or like hit a simple ass like beat that I'm making that's emulating of something I've heard. You know, like now I can finally be like, oh, I want to like make a song in this key and like with these chords, and like I can arrange it, and I know who I can get to play these instruments to like make the song, and like I have enough musical knowledge now to actually do that. You know, so the metal on the album just came from like I can do that now. Like I can scream like this. I can like express myself vocally in that way, and I can like help craft, you know, songs more.
Yeah, and you've always challenged yourself creatively. That's one thing I've always had a heavy respect for, and it's part of the reason, like going back to what we were saying earlier, is why I think you're still gaining relevance, you know what I mean, and still growing, because you continue to challenge yourself. I remember when we were in LA for the first Spider Gang show, and we did that interview, the second one in the backyard, it was singing. Singing was the thing you were trying to figure out and try to get the confidence to do. And now it's screaming. It's almost like you just keep challenging yourself and setting like goals for yourself. Like you said, you had a goal set for yourself after tour.
Mm-hmm.
So this was one thing I've always respected about you, is that your willingness to try new things and to set new ceilings for yourself is there. And with that, I think this album kind of shows that.
Yeah.
Because you're able
It'd be
to
super easy to play it safe. It'd be super easy
right.
to like keep beating the dead horse forever until the inevitable fall off. It takes more courage to step away from something when its time is coming.
And this album is
if I were to continue to force Lil Darkie stuff out, it would do a disservice to the thing that I've built. This is like something I'm proud of releasing right now.
Mm-hmm. And it just shows all the skills you've gained.
It's
you have the deluxe coming out.
The deluxe, the videos off the album. I've only dropped one. I have like at least like 5. The rollout's not even like achieved.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And I think this album is a testament to all the different sounds that you're capable of producing. Do you think that genres themselves are fading away with time?
Yeah.
Because you look at today's generation of music, they like everything. Like when you ask someone what they like now.
Yeah, I'm just gonna like play random shit in my Spotify playlist just to like show you an example. Like, people who still like are genre focused and like what they listen to are some of the wackest. Like,
some of the most bland people.
Here's like a freestyle of some dude that I heard on the internet. Like this like nice trap thing. Here's like Pink Panthers. Jaleel. I like the beat on that song and how he does that. Got the fucking basement, Got a Alex G song. Got a fucking. This is like the sound of like cicadas and crickets, and there's like a guitar over it. Like this is like fucking some rock. Got some like jazz, Got some fucking some classic new Jabes, Got a jazz composition over here. Like music is music. I think like people's horizons broadening is super optimistic and positive for expression, and like we're just seeing like the dams begin to break. Like it's not even like where it's going to be in like 10 years. I genuinely think the next generation and our generation as they get older is going to become far more open.
I feel like there was a point in the mid 2010s where I noticed like a huge shift in like perspectives on like genres in music itself. You know what I mean? It started really with like our generation, like, 'cause your parents like they like pretty much certain genres. They really didn't like explore outside of the shit they like normally like.
They identify with it strongly.
Right. They identified with one
peace,
thing, very
or
strongly.
a few things, Obviously, there's exceptions to all of that, but
yeah. There's always
too,
nothing is clear cut.
Like my father loves Kiss.
Yeah.
Like that's like something he liked growing up, like Metallica and shit.
Yeah. The excessive I Can See Clearly. Did you ever expect that song to hit the heights that it hit?
No, but I'm glad it's like the top one.
Yeah. Because it's so different.
I'm glad of all the songs I made that like that one managed to surpass like all the other shit. I'm so glad that the song with like that pure of a message managed to like be the one that people like the most.
Because when I first heard it off Swamp, I was like, this is very different than almost anything that you've tried. As far as if you look at, I'm not saying you've never made anything like that in the past, but it's looking at the chronological order of your releases.
Mm-hmm.
I Can See Clearly was very different to everything you had come out.
Yeah.
Previously. So I found that interesting that's the one. And I think it kind of points to the fact that your fan base has grown with you. Mm-hmm. Like we had talked last tour, and you look at the statistics of people listening to your music and buying tickets, it's in the mid to late 20s now, as opposed to like young teens.
Yeah, back when Spider Gang 1 and 2 were happening.
Right, and it was like
more
teenagers.
Folks,
Like
now you see a lot more young adults and people that are in college or going to college and shit.
I found that interesting, and I think that really shows that You know what I mean? I do have a few more questions here.
Yeah, do whatever, man.
I know we go off the rails,
Yeah,
but
then
that's
we go
fine.
off the
I
rails.
wanted this interview to be more of you, like, you speaking your mind.
Yeah.
Our last two interviews have been like heavily like conversation based, which is cool.
Yeah, like
you know
driven,
what I mean?
Heavily driven.
But I feel like a lot is happening with you right now, and I just wanted to kind of give you a platform to just kind of fucking speak your mind.
Fuck yeah.
What plaque were you rolling weed on? Very curious.
The plaque. So here's the story of the plaque. We were very excited to learn, you know, like if I go in my analytics and like show you, if you go into like my Spotify for artists, like we learned at one point, you know, with I Can See Clearly or whatever, that I Can See Clearly has like 75 like million streams. Like Genocide has 105 million streams,
crazy.
you know. And I think like the metric is like there's some metric for like a certain amount of streams is like a sale, and then you can get like a plaque or something.
It's like an out of whack metric too.
Yeah, it's like a whack ass metric.
Like who the fuck buys that album and listens to that shit?
Yeah,
Like
super ridiculous.
Like 20,000 times. I mean that's an exaggeration, but like it's really ridiculous.
Yeah, but I think basically we had like done some kind of calculation, like me and Wendigo, and like we were really excited because we were like, oh, I think we're eligible for like a gold plaque. That's cool. And then like we ended up hitting up like our distributor and getting our data and stuff, and then they were like, actually, you're not eligible because there's streams and then there's like confirmable streams. So like your streams are this amount, but then your confirmable streams are like this amount. It's like based on like listening time. It has to be like above a certain amount,
like
for
30
it to be
seconds
eligible.
or something.
Well, it's 30 seconds to be counted as a stream that's payable, but it's like longer or some like other metric, or there's some metric that determines if the stream can be counted as a legitimate stream or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were just like shy of the gold plaque. And so then in that song, I'm using the platinum plaque, and you can kind of tell in the video, it's like a symbol of like arbitrary success, and how like it ultimately doesn't matter. You know, the plaque is like, and that's why it's like rolling weed on the plaque is symbolic of like not only like not caring about it, but it's symbolic of like I've gotten far. I don't need this plaque to validate my importance, you know. That's why it's like ever since I got this platinum plaque, I've been like not caring. Like it's a double meaning. It's both like, oh, I've succeeded so much that like I feel fulfilled, but it's also pointing out that like those achievements are completely arbitrary and like dumb, and they're just like handed down to you by like the elite, and like they're just like completely they're deciding like if you're eligible for an award, like, and then it makes you think like, what is a plaque? It's just like rich people like sucking themselves off and giving each other awards and shit, and like they're obviously the ones that are gonna get the most of them. It's arbitrary, bro. And so that the plaque I'm rapping about is like a symbolic plaque. It's like almost an idol. It's meant to be thrown aside.
Yeah.
You know.
On the song Terminally Online Dude Signs a Record Deal, you take heavy shots at the current state of pretty much music and just labels.
Yeah.
In itself. What are your raw thoughts on the current state of music?
I always have been, you know. I've been critical of labels all the time, but what's my thoughts on...
What are your thoughts on the current state of music?
It's in a huge, like, vacuum right now, you know. It's in a huge, just, like, there's a lack of... we've entered, like, you know, there was, like, music that was a certain way, and then, like, shit got very progressive.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, fuck that, break the mold, you know, like, when Tyler made, like, Yonkers and, like, Wolf and, like, his early career, which is, like, kind of, like, my earlier career. Like, me doing Darkie is kind of the equivalent of that. It's, like, the edginess and, like, saying, like, things that are is it allowed, you know?
Yeah.
And then, shit, I think right now is entering, like, a phase of, like, safety again. And that will be broken soon. Sooner or later. It's coming, you know. But music right now is entering like this insular like phase of almost self-filation, and like no one wants to hate on shit. Like I went to grade A, you know. For example, I went to grade A.
Yeah, I saw you just out there in the crowd.
You know, yeah, I went to like grade A, and it was a pleasure. And this is not hating on the Suicide Boys or anything, you know, or anyone involved in that. But like, for example, you know, like there are things that are just like glorified in music and in popular music and in underground music that are just like silly, like violence for no reason and like drug use for no reason. And it's like there's a lot of, you watch music videos and it's like, oh look, I got a gun and the skulls and I'm killing you and look at how cool I look and the chain and the drip and look at me, I'm so cool. It's just like that, like that's like what the fuck, like what at what point like do we like get tired of that again, you know? And it'll get cool again. And then like it gets tired again. But like we're in a phase right now where I feel like it's almost like it's like prolonged. It feels like it's happening longer than it's supposed to, because we're having like the introduction of like new forms of social media like TikTok and blah blah blah. That's like making it hard to break away from like dopamine shit.
You feel like social media has negatively influenced music at all?
Yeah. It's so easy for people to like judge shit and be mean and like be retarded and like influence each other's opinions and like prop shit up and tear shit down, and like it's definitely making music less about the music and more about the things surrounding the music, you know? Like you see like, you know, like Doja Cat, you know, is huge controversial right now, for example, you know, like, and she's like, you know, teetering around, I think, you know, because I keep up with shit like this, like the 6th or 8th, like, or 9th, like, artist in the world or whatever on Spotify, at least, in terms of streaming. And, all the controversy has nothing to do with like her making like with like the music. It's like, oh, the video is demonic, and like it's like, dude, it's like 2023. Like demonic shit is still like bothering you. Like Black Sabbath like was like getting criticized. Like Marilyn Manson was getting criticized on talk shows for shit like that.
Bro, like bit the head off a bat.
Yeah, like you know what I'm saying.
Like
and
metal.
like now we're all like up in arms about like demonic shit. It's like demonic shit is like fake. Like, demons are made up by people. Like, we're the demons. We are the monsters. Like, we are that. It's not some external shit. Externalizing it is almost like invalidating reality. Like, oh, she's dressing as a demon. Like, yeah, she's dressing as a demon to, like, get your attention. It's like clickbait. Like, you're fucking falling for it, and now she's, like, one of the top artists on earth. If you really didn't fuck with it, you wouldn't even make a video about it, complaining about it. That's what's getting her where she's going, you know? It's the same thing that got me to where I'm at, the controversy.
Yeah.
People can't control themselves around something that's controversial.
They feel like they have to have an opinion on everything.
Yeah. It's less about, like, the music and more about the image surrounding it. Yeah. I'm excited for, like, people that just, like wear a shirt and some jeans to, like, play some beautiful shit and it, like, means something, you know? But who knows if that'll ever, like, truly come, you know, the way you think about it.
It's almost like with social media, like people want so much more than just music from artists. You know what I mean? And I feel like,
and this is we're talking about popular music. I know like culture of music varies, you know, when you're talking about folk music or like
definitely
for world music, you know, and like music in other countries and shit like that. But we're speaking mostly about like shit adjacent to me, like hip hop and alt music and TikTok music and rap and bullshit like that, you know.
It's like social media is almost like people wanted more. Like, I mean, you know, back in the day, you go pick up a CD, right? You love the cover art, and you love the booklet and stuff, and the artists would drop music videos, and you see it on TV, and you're like, oh, that's cool. But like, you didn't care so much like about their personal lives as like you do now. You know what I mean? Or not you in particular, just in general.
Yeah, as
you know
the
what
royal
I'm saying?
you, yeah.
Like people want to know like everything you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Like
what?
Like I don't know. It's weird. You know what I mean? Like people can't. I don't know, bro.
Yeah, it's like.
It's like the social media has brought so much more like out of shit, and even I guess maybe that sounds like hypocritical because I make content around music.
I think social media has made racism worse. I think it's made sexism worse. I think it's made like mad shit worse.
Mm.
Like mad, like objectively.
It's
Like
probably
back to like this, like just like for example, like this Israel Palestine shit. So
fucking sad as
crazy.
hell.
Yeah, so sad and so crazy how like people like here are like making a huge like deal about it, and it's like so much more complicated. Like literally, like first of all, this shit's been going on since World War II.
Right.
And
They've
even
always
be-
been
and,
fighting.
and like even before that, but in terms of like the state of Israel, like since for like almost 100 years, and only now like people want, like you've been like on Earth for like 18 years or 20 years or something, like you want to take to the street and like say free Palestine. Like so many people I know like don't know what the fuck they're talking about, or like free or like save Israel. Like taking either side I think is irresponsible. We're on the other side of the planet. If anything, we should protest our country's involvement, like, at all.
Right.
It's not our job to fucking police the world. Like,
I agree.
I think, like, the fact that our empire is built upon the subjugation of others and, like, the control of the world, that is a recent development. That's in the last 100 years, you know?
The United States
We
is
were,
young.
until, like, the world wars, like, we were a very isolationist nation. We've, like, had conflicts within our own nation.
Right.
We need to air that shit out before we start going and like controlling Israel for like economic reasons and Ukraine and all this shit. Like,
There's so many issues here in America that we're just not taking care of. And, you know, we could
yeah,
be the
exactly.
example.
I'm not saying that like fighting injustice is bad, because injustice should be stopped wherever it is, and people need help.
Right.
And people in our country, it's the easiest for us to give them help. But it's crazy that our government is making decisions like that, like without like any say so of the people here. Like we got people living on the streets, we got people that can't eat, we got people like we have such a strong economy and we're such a powerful country. The fact that we won't even like ban shit that we know is cancer causing and poisonous. We won't even like clean up our own wilderness and like stop big companies from defiling our nation's beauty. The fact that we won't, you know, you put more money into the education system and give everyone a fair shot at being educated, you know. There's so many things that need to be fixed in this country, and we're busy like obsessing over like each other. Like Americans are turning on each other, being like free, like fuck Israel, fuck Palestine. Like, what about like this, like here right now? Like, what about our country first? Like let's like fix that. Let's really try, and like let's do it with love. And why is it all like this, like jawing and spitting and like throwing stones and shit? Like,
And it's like, we're so divided, bro. It's always like there's two sides to everything.
like what the fuck?
if you
And they
don't pick
want
the
it.
right one,
I
they
think
can't
they
fuck with
want
each
it.
other.
Like, I genuinely like think I'm crazy if you want, but like I really think they want it. It's so advantageous to have us like arguing with each other and fighting with each other, and like we're not fighting against like the men high up in the skyscraper, like having these meetings, and like we can't even see them, and like it's literally like 0.0000001% of the people on Earth that are making decisions that are affecting all of the rest of us, like for generations.
So what do you want people, you know, your tour is pretty heavy on this message, you know
Yeah.
what I mean, of the fact that we are divided, the fact that we aren't focusing on helping ourselves and the people around us. You know what I mean? Like, we have the ability to clothe, feed, and house everybody, and we're not.
Yeah. I hope to inspire people to think more critically. Like, okay, yeah, like we have the two-party system, and we're stuck in it. We feel stuck in it. Like, we feel like there is no solution. We have to try something else, whether we try or whether we fail or not. Like, whether we know it'll work or not, we have to like try something else. This shit is obviously not working. We need to come together as a country and decide that there's an age limit on being a certain politicians. Like, there needs to be like things that control nepotism, and like there need to be like ways that we can stop our country from just being like ruled by the elite few. We're all suffering for it.
Right.
We need to like localize control of our lives more, and like state government I think needs to play a lot more of a role in our everyday lives than federal government. The federal government is too powerful. Like, it is not supposed to be that powerful. We need to make sure they don't take physical currency away. They're moving us closer to taking physical currency away, taking the dollar out of your pocket and making it like a bank account that they can close at any time. Like, if you speak on a podcast, like even this podcast or this interview we're doing right now, like, if we do this in Canada or something, and we say something that's like factually could be considered incorrect or anything, like they can like close bank accounts, like that can happen so easily.
It gives
like
too much control.
There's too much control. Like, who are you? Like, freedom of speech is the freedom to say things that are wrong. I may have said things in this conversation that are factually incorrect, and I'd love to be corrected and to learn. We're never going to learn and correct each other if we're just like censoring each other.
Right.
Like cutting on, like,
we are one of the only countries that has true freedom of speech, and I feel like we don't utilize it.
And because we don't utilize it, it is being taken away.
Absolutely.
Companies like Google and places are starting, are going to start like, it's not like they're taking away your right to say it, but they're starting to like make it so people won't see it, and like things like that. And like the government's been exposed for like, tweets that disagree with like what they like. They're emailing, Twitter and emailing this place and that place and asking for things to be taken down and things like it to be controlled. And like, they are taking away our speech as like new forms of speech emerge. And if we don't like constantly fight for our rights and utilize our rights, they will be taken away.
We have the ability to do that too. Like, you spoke last night in that speech about your mother, who comes from a place where she doesn't have the ability to do that.
Yeah, like my
clean food.
came from, India.
Mm-hmm.
Like she tells me all the time like how different India was when she was there to how it is to be here. And that's just one other country, The world, there's so like the opportunities that people have, like, crazy to me, bro. Like, kids will straight up be like, "Oh, I can't quit ketamine, I can't quit drugs," like, but it's like, you can afford to dye your hair. You have green hair right now. I can see that you're like using water to dye your hair and shit. There's someone who can't even drink water today. Like, you're a bitch and you're pathetic. Stop acting like, like, oh, like, my life is so bad. And it's like, you just like, you have tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
You ate food today, like,
very thankful.
like a lot of shit is performative.
And I think that,
but it's also like, you're a bitch and you're pathetic, but it's also like, I love you. Stop being a pathetic bitch. Like,
you can't like
learn to like turn the lens on yourself and like want to improve,
You can't like invalidate your own experiences at the same time, but I think it does help. Yep. Like, me personally, like, it's been a rough year, admittedly, you know what I mean? It's getting better. Like, being on tour with you and stuff has been like a huge therapy for me.
I'm glad.
But remembering where I'm at in life and the opportunities that I have has most definitely helped me, you know what I mean, make it through that.
Yeah.
Because, like, we do have so many opportunities here compared to, like, the kids over on the other side of the world right now.
Yeah.
And, like,
kids take our education system for granted and shit.
Right.
Like, bro, you can go to the library and straight up read about anything. And you can like, Google shit. And, like, you can ask now. I didn't even have this when I was a kid. You can ask Chat GPT to like teach you about something.
Right.
Like, like, oh, I don't want to read about like this book about the entire history of like Sumeria. Chat GPT, summarize this book. You can learn about things like efficiently. Like, use the tools at your disposal to like learn about things. And kids straight up won't. They'd rather like
they'll watch prank videos on
like
YouTube
watch
instead.
like dumbass like TikTok videos and prank videos and like Mr. Beast like $1 house versus $1 million house and like shit like that,
Right. Shit, man. How was fucking chilling in Alaska with Waka?
It was cool. It was cool to meet Waka. It was
Yeah.
lit. Unexpected turn of events. Was super chill. He's lit.
It's like some bucket list shit.
Yeah, it was like Like not even bucket list, like something I wouldn't even think to put on my bucket list.
Yeah.
Just like like magical,
Right.
like super magical.
It's like a side quest.
Yeah, talk to somebody that like precedes my time, like a goat of another time.
Yeah.
Right there, like still turning up in front of me for a crowd like bigger than even I can pull up. Like
Was he
years later, super inspiring. you
Yeah.
know?
Was he familiar with you at all at that time?
No.
Nah, he's just chilling, doing ads for
Yeah.
cough drops and shit.
It was just chill to like get to know him and meet him and meet some people on his crew, and it was cool.
What are you listening to right now musically? I know we just went through your Spotify
Yeah,
playlist.
yeah, I'm listening to a whole lot. I love Pink Panthers.
Yeah, she's a beautiful voice.
Yeah, the goat. She's great. I love listening to jazz. I listen to just like jazz shit. I listen to slam a lot, like slam metal and like shit for like when I'm in the gym.
Yeah.
Like shit with like niggas like inhale screaming and gurgling and shit. And like rap tags over the metal drop and shit. Just been listening to like anything I can. And I go through like kind of like month-long phases. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, now I want to discover something new. I go out of my way to like try to discover something new. But yeah, I'm like really listen to Joji, because I'm a
You've
huge
always
fan.
been a
Even-
Joji
yeah,
fan.
even before I was like rapping, in high school when I was like 15 and shit, I was like a huge Filthy Frank fan, and like
Yeah.
same on that Tyler tip, like grew with him, and then he transitioned to Joji, and then and I listened to his Joji music when he was Frank, and then really appreciated where he went after that, and really proud that he could find the success that he's found doing that. So I listen to some of his stuff because it inspires me to feel like I could succeed at changing, in whatever respect I do, in whatever I choose to do post this. It gives me faith that people will love me for me, not for like doing something specific necessarily. So that's why I like his music. Listen to anything really.
With the expansion of your sound and stuff like that, if someone was getting into your music today, someone who'd never heard you before, what are 5 songs you would give them to dive into your catalog? 5 songs to start with.
I'd say Do You Love Me? The World Is Ending. I'd say Caveman Rap. I'd say Electric Dandelions. And I'd say Darkie Still Cannot Rap, Part 1 remix. Just like a variety, get some retardation, get some beauty, get some spitting.
How long have we been going now? Almost. Okay.
We've been going for 3 hours.
Goddamn.
What time is it right now? Fuck. Let's go for like 15 more.
I mean, that was all the questions I have. Shit, man.
Yeah.
Fucking super proud of you, though, dude.
Thank
Like, it was crazy because I met you because of Dirty Butt. Like,
Yeah.
Dirty was
Dirty's
like,
like
bro,
an
have you
OG,
heard
bro.
of Lil Darkie? And I'm like, nah. And he sent me your music, and I'm like, yo,
Yeah,
this
back
kid
when
is lit.
this was the thing, right? Is that
Right,
K&D?
yeah, it's K&D. Right before this man started
Yeah.
being weird. But, yeah. But, like, he's like, yo, you heard of Lil Darkie? I'm like, nah. And then, like, I saw it, and I was immediately, like, hooked. I was like, I think I heard, like, 2 bars, and I was like, oh, nah, this man's lit. So it was just, like, I don't know. It's crazy how everything came full circle, because I think you maybe had, like, a few thousand SoundCloud followers at that point.
Yeah.
When I first got, like, connected with you. And, like, so it was, like, I don't know. It's crazy, man. It's surreal for me to be, like, here on this tour and, like, seeing you just get to these heights, man. So it's not really a question. I'm just super, like, proud of that. You know what I mean?
Man.
Like, man, this individual has really, like, affected so many people's lives.
Thank you,
So
bro. I'm super blown away, too. It's weird to imagine us still out there in the backyard at the same table,
literally,
sitting there. I'm in the, like, purple hoodie.
right?
somehow I look older in that interview in ways. Like just discussing, Alex
Doing
fucking
the
with
fucking
a leaf in the background. Yeah,
Bro, I still get like 2 to 3 comments a day on that interview, like about that. It's fucking hilarious.
but it's crazy to think how much time has passed. Just
Yeah.
like how this interview, like before, I didn't even realize. It felt like we've been talking for like an hour.
Yeah.
And then they tell us it's been 3 hours. And then,
Right.
in that same way, it feels like we just blinked and we're here, Like, crazy to think that
Nah.
when I was doing that first interview with you, like, those shows, like, we were hard-pressed to have, like, even, like, fucking, like, 10 people at the shows that gave a fuck.
Yeah, dude, there was
And then
20,
now, like, I'm about to do a
maybe.
show tomorrow with, like, 600 people, and the day after with, like, 700, and the day after with, like, 1,500,
It's fucking insane, dude.
Like,
Like,
crazy, man.
Like, just
And
to
hopefully
see
it'll
that.
just keep going, like, positively from there in whatever respect it wants to, as long as it's helping people and it's positive and it's good art. That's what really matters at the end of the day, as long as we're happy,
Yeah.
It's easy for a lot of people to get caught up in, that's something I had to get over, When I first started blowing up, I started to fear, like, oh, when is this going to be done? When's the fall off? Like, when am I going to, like, not be lit? And now I realize, like, that will never come. I can never come down from this high.
That's also really rare, and not a lot of people can say that.
Like, I will always have played such a huge role in so many people's lives, and I will always be thankful for being able to experience that. Not very many people get to, like, experience that feeling of, like, completion. Like, I did it. I really did it.
Yeah. Man, I remember when we were coming to Charlotte, too. Like, there was maybe 15 to 20 people at that show. Drew and I still have some of that footage. We were looking at it the other day.
Yeah, you can see the footage right now. And then here's one of the shows that we did on this tour. Here's Charlotte. Here's Raleigh. You can see, like, same state a few years later.
Fucking crazy,
How much
bro.
can change if you just fucking try,
I remember I thought I missed the opportunity to interview you because you were coming in late. I just fell asleep in my bed and you, like, FaceTime me. And I FaceTimed you back at, like, 2 a.m. and your eyes were, like, crusty as shit. I felt like I missed that opportunity. And, I was glad I got to hit it the next day. Because I knew going in to that interview, I didn't know it was going to get that big. When I saw a whole article in Russian and it was just us at the table, like a clip from it, and the article was in Russian and I couldn't fucking read it, I'm like, holy shit. And then I saw it all over fucking TikTok. I did not, like, anticipate any of that shit, bro. I knew it was going to do, like, numbers. And we've talked about how I feel about this podcast now. You know what I mean? So I'm not really focused on what's going to do numbers, but I did not expect that. That shit definitely changed my life as a whole too. But yeah, that shit was even just to see it now is absolutely crazy. And honestly, like I had like probably like 5 or 6 people like remember me from that interview in Philly last night when I was out interviewing fans.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like to see them like talk to me and bring up things that like I don't even remember saying, like just makes me realize like the impact that has had. And I'm not sitting here being like I'm big shit or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm just a dude who likes music. But to influence people just through like a conversation is like insane.
Yeah, the
I don't
fact that
know.
we had that talk and it like changed someone's life is crazy.
Right. I still like
In this talk
see
that we're having
comments
right
on
now,
it.
like we're not even thinking about it, but like
some things that were said.
Yeah, it might change somebody's life to hear this.
Yeah, some things that were said is going to change like some people's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And that shit is powerful. It's
Yeah.
definitely like maybe more conscious. That interview in particular, getting as big as it did, made me more conscious about like what I say. Like I took some interviews down, and they're gonna go back up because I'm not into deleting history or anything.
Yeah.
But it's like maybe conscious about like how I want to like present myself to people going forward. And we had a conversation about that a couple months before tour. I called you,
It's about change, man.
and
sometimes to change, we go through a period of self-loathing or self-denial, and it's about accepting, like in that song, House Made of Ash,
yeah,
do you forgive yourself for who you were in the past? Don't throw stones in a house made of glass, It's easy to fucking, like, make your whole shit crumble, It's hard to have the restraint and the patience to, like, grow without hurting yourself.
yeah.
or change without hurting the people around you or yourself or the things that you built. To do it with grace takes skill.
Yeah, dude.
And none of us will ever do it perfectly.
Right. And talking to these people after they leave, like, your show, like, some of them have been, like, touched in, like, a major way. You know what I mean? Like seeing you and just hearing what you have to say in person was, like, life-changing in a way to them. And that's crazy powerful, man. It's just, I don't know. I'm just making statements at this point.
Yeah.
It's just one of the...
you know what? I honestly feel like we should call this one.
Yeah.
But
I feel you.
If this is any indication of something, it's that we went into this podcast thinking that this might be like the last one or something, but
we did talk about that.
Definitely think that
we'll talk again someday.
Definitely think that we might need to like have another conversation because obviously we have a lot to say and like
It's been 3 hours.
It's been 3 hours and we're still not done. So
and
it might be let's come back in 6 months and see if we got more to say, man.
See how the year off has been.
Yeah, see if a year off will
get
us a little closer to any semblance of finality. Because I guess I'm learning that with you and I, like we got a lot to say and we could go on for a while.
My goal with this one was just to let you speak because, like I said, we could talk conversation-wise all day, but I really wanted to let you speak your mind on certain things.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that.
So I guess next time it'll be more conversation-based again.
Yeah. Do you want to tell them, like, what your closing remarks, or do you want me to?
Honestly, I stopped the whole opening and closing remarks thing because people don't give a shit, and neither did I. Yeah, so, like, you gotta know. You can
I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do closing remarks to this camera. I'm just kidding. This camera. Dude, we made it. If you've been here with me, from the start, how long time coming this shit's been, You're gonna grow and you're gonna change and you're gonna, become a more true version of yourself. I encourage everyone out there to, if you take anything from this podcast or this interview, life is beautiful. Don't take shit for granted. Use every moment to your advantage and fucking have that fire under your ass. Make sure you light that fire under your ass, because if I didn't work my hardest, I wouldn't have been able to get this far and help this many people. People have told me that I've saved their lives. I could not have asked for such a blessing, Do something good with your life.
I guess to end it, man, I know it's not the last one, but, thank you. You've definitely changed a lot of people's lives, including my own. So thank you very much. It's great to be here with you and to speak with you again, and we will talk again someday, my friend.
Fuck yeah.